there, and welcome back to another Miraculous Ladybug Season 5 video. And today we're going to be talking about one of the latest episodes to drop, episode 16, Protection, which sort of leads into the events of episode 18, setting up plot points like the diamond dance that Gabe's throwing, and further exploring him and Kagami's mum trying to force their kids into a romance. It gives a lot of context to episode 18, and, that's helpful in hindsight. And so yeah, with all that being said, let's jump into the episode. So we start off the episode witnessing a conversation between Lila and Kagami. So in episode 12, Perfection, which Gloob also released in this latest set of episodes, we saw Lila enact her plan to sink her claws into Kagami and try to destroy her friendship with Marinette, and obviously, that didn't end up working out, as by this episode, Marinette and Kagami are still friends, but Lila hasn't given up just yet, and in this scene, she lays the groundwork for her latest plot. Basically by spitting straight facts about how Kagami's a good person who puts others before herself every single time, a true friend. But of course, this isn't the end of Lila's plot, but more on that later. Because next up, we cut over to the rest of the gang, who are trying to get Adrien and Marinette to kiss, and it's not going too well. So last time we checked in with them, Marinette and Adrien were struggling to admit their feelings, or rather, Marinette was struggling. She was completely and utterly unable to say I love you. And here, it seems like she's fallen into her latest spiral of self-sabotage and self-consciousness. And so, Mark and Nathaniel have decided to lead the charge, and have enacted their latest grand scheme in which they hope to get the two of them to kiss. They, and the rest of the class, are going to help them live out a magical moment. And in turn, they hope this is going to sweep them up into the romance and get them to make out. And honestly, it sounds like a truly terrible disaster waiting to happen, especially since none of the class schemes ever seem to work out anyway, at least where these two are concerned. And so it's clearly going to end in tears. Anyway, we then get an artwork montage to explain the plan, and these are always great. Especially loved Mark and Nathaniel's little cupids. So utterly ridiculous that in canon, they drew that picture of themselves. Like, why? Anyway, the plan is they're going to ride the Ferris wheel, it's going to stop. So they've obviously had to pay off the operator for this, have they? To have it stop at the exact moment they need it to? How invested in this plan are these people? My God! And then they have Mr. Ramier's pigeons lined up to fly past with roses, and it's like, come on, how's that romantic? City pigeons are gross and they stink. They shit everywhere. Plus, they're a famous disease vector. In what world does somebody consider this a romantic bird? They're colloquially known as rats with wings. Come on now. Invest in some doves. Damn it. Jesus. And then they're going to be having a live stream of Kitty Section's music, which... Isn't their lead singer Rose, who famously screams into the mic? It worries me that Mark and Nathaniel seem to think that the screams of a teenage girl is the height of romance. On top of that, apparently they've set up a camera for the kiss, which is like, ew. Who in the hell wants their first kiss with their crush to be in front of literally all their friends and then filmed for posterity? Who? But yeah, anyway, Mark and Nathaniel then begin to spiral and apparently started planning their wedding, their future life together, all that jazz. And yeah, that's just a little bit weird. But side note, based on this set of drawings, and then that episode where Ladybug and Cat Noir see their ideal future or whatever it was, if Adrien does not grow a glorious mustache to rival Tom, I'm going to be highly disappointed. That is what the epilogue of this entire franchise needs to be. Adrien with a massive handlebar mustache. Like me, Marinette sees a bunch of flaws in this very shoddy plan. She's too awkward to kiss him in the first place. And apparently she hasn't even said she loves him yet, although, if you ask me, the majority of normal people kiss their prospective partner before they say, I love you. Otherwise, it feels very clingy and desperate, but I guess that is Marinette's MO. And of course, this is Miraculous, so all rational thought goes out the window. And so Marinette clearly feels uncomfortable, and Adrien, it seems, has finally attended a consent workshop like I've been begging for years. As nowadays, he's all about Marinette not feeling pressured and wanting her to feel safe. He's become so based recently. But yeah, apparently the rest of the class, they still need to go to that consent workshop. These kids need a visit from the Kagami of consent, because they force them into it, and it goes about as well as you'd expect, which is not very well at all. It's completely awkward. Nino can't play guitar at all, the music's not very romantic or mood setting, and the whole experience is just weird. And it results in Marinette running away crying, no figure. And I mean, on first watch, I did think that was maybe a bit extreme to run off on all your friends, but on a second watch, you know what? I get it. This is so deeply cringy. Back in high school, I remember the classic move would be to band together with the friend of the person you're trying to hook your friend up with, walk to some random area, the four of you, and then you and the friend ditch them there, leaving your friend alone with the prospective love interest. And that in itself was always super cringe in hindsight, and I'm embarrassed to remember it. But this is like that, but instead you don't leave. And in fact, you bring all your other friends to come and watch and film it. Ugh. And then on top of that, everybody acts like this is all Marinette's fault that it falls apart. Mark says, "That's okay, we'll find something else." As if Marinette's the problem. But yeah, whole thing's a disaster. Moving on though, we then take a look at our dastardly parental duo as they plot and scheme, with Kagami's mum interrogating Gabe about why he wants to bring forward the diamond dance. And he explains that he doesn't have much time left whilst looking at his ruined arm. Jeez, we really are going to have dead Gabe, aren't we? Rest in peace to Gabe. Anyway, whilst this is all going on, we have Adrien and Kagami chilling in the kitchen talking about Adrien's girl troubles. Because who doesn't like being chatted to by their ex-boyfriend about their new girlfriend? I mean, I know the kid's sheltered, but still, I'm baffled. Learn some social etiquette, mate. And he just keeps going. Adrien gives a little speech about how he's going to make Marinette comfortable with him. How he has to be the one to make her feel safe with him. Pretty much doing all the things that Kagami wanted him to do for her. Whoops. Anyway, the parents overhear and they assume that he and Kagami are talking about their own relationship, which of course, the parents ship. Ha! Cringe. So out of touch, parents holding on to a dead ship. It's sunk last season, guys. Keep up. And at the same time, Kagami's mum says that they were made for each other, just like they planned, which seems ominous and gross. If the whole Senti thing is true, which based on episode 18 with Felix seems likely, does that mean they made their own kids with the intention of forcing them to be together? That's deeply unsettling. Yeah, I guess after a few episodes of happy wholesome Gabe making pancakes, I briefly forgot this dude's a piece of shit. Anyway, the parents then overhear Adrien has actually been talking about Marinette the whole time, and they're suddenly not so happy. Regardless, Adrien shoots off a text to Marinette, and she spirals briefly, before deciding, nah, screw it, let's go. And off she marches to his house, in pajamas. Yeah. Meanwhile, the parents argue about whose kid is more shit, with Kagami's mum raging and telling Gabe to get his son to pull his head in, and to move up the date of the dance to ensure that the situation is resolved ASAP, in case he dies before getting the Miraculouses. And what's the reason for this forced romance? If they are Senti monsters, is this some true love's kiss type of thing to ensure they can't be destroyed? Or is she just really eager to get her hands on Gabe's money? And what's Gabe's motivation here? Is he just an elitist? And so, after Kagami leaves, Gabe goes to Adrien and starts trying to push him back towards Kagami, telling Adrien that he and Kagami were good together, as they're the same design. And that Adrien's simply hiding behind Marinette because she's so mediocre that it makes him feel better about himself, which, Jesus, Gabe, tell us how you really feel, mate. It's got to be the biggest diss in the history of the show, right? Dude then rubs his ring and tells Adrien that he forbids him from having a relationship with Marinette, before we cut to Kagami, who's similarly being scolded by her mum and being told to take what she wants. Screw Marinette. God, these parents need some healthy boundaries, please. Anyway, Adrien, of course, sends the text to Marinette telling her that they're through, and honestly, Marinette is such a Chad in this moment. Just water off a duck's back, doesn't care in the slightest, completely understands that it was probably his dad that forced him to write that, and that they're gonna figure it out in time. Most people would just scoff and think he's weak-willed and move on, so props to her. And then back at Adrien's, he's venting to Natalie about how avoiding Marinette from now on is going to be difficult, which in turn pisses her off, because nowadays Natalie actually cares about making Adrien happy. Or at least more than she wants to help Gabe and make him happy. And so, after taking a look at her ring, she tells him that his dad can suck it, and he should do whatever makes him happy. And what do you know? Suddenly he's completely back on board as if somebody's pulling his puppet strings. Poor kid. Either he's getting mind controlled or he has no willpower. Either way is very sad. And so he texts her and he invites her back over and he sneaks her in. Best boy Gorilla has set them up a picnic hamper, and that's just honestly adorable in every single way. And then Adrien even runs off to get into his pajamas just to make her feel more comfortable. Anyway, turns out their picnic hamper is actually stuffed with a video game console and they start to play. And also a hologram projector TV screen. There is nothing quite like feeling envious about the fake wealth of a fictional character. But here we are. Gabe notices them out the window, and honestly, for somebody who's trying to hide the fact that he has his girlfriend over, Adrien's doing a pretty bad job of it, loudly laughing in the background with his video game at high volume right outside his dad's workroom window. Those are some rookie mistakes. But yeah, anyway, Gabe goes and rages at Natalie, who slaps him down because she isn't taking his shit anymore. And so, after looking at her ring, he leaves. And I guarantee he's going to try and steal that ring back at some point. Meanwhile, Kagami's spending even more time with Lila, because that's surely going to be good for her mental well-being. And honestly, Lila unleashes some top-tier manipulation. I actually think this was really good writing. It was quite nuanced. They show that Kagami's jealous that Adrien's changing for Marinette when he couldn't change for her. We also see that Lila's been spending time really sucking up to Kagami, making her feel like she's a true friend. Compliments, praise, all of that sort of stuff. Tries to connect with her over shared heartbreak, and then points out the fact that Marinette's only ever been a complete muppet when it comes to Adrien. Even with Luca, it was never that bad, and we as the audience who see everything, we know that it's genuine. But for the characters in the show, when you do think about it, I can see why it would be mega sus. So Lila getting in her head like this makes a lot of sense, and I think was very well handled. And at the same time, Lila and Gabe have a phone call where she hints that Monarch, I wonder who that could be, wink wink, should send out an Akuma to get Kagami, as in turn, that would poison Marinette and Adrien's romance from the guilt of it all. And it's actually a really clever and dastardly plan. I mean, clearly it doesn't work based on episode 18, but still a good attempt nonetheless. And so Kagami gets akumatized with the intention of saving Adrien from Marinette's wicked womanly wiles. And on top of that, she gets the turtle's power of protection. Meanwhile, it's back to the romantic couple, where the two are looking at clouds, talking about what they look like, one's a horse, which, yeah, that's fair enough. But then one is a perfect recreation of the two of them kissing, and it's like, that's pretty convenient. Anyway, they start holding hands, blushing, touching foreheads. This is it, guys. Gabe's there. He's been a creep, angrily watching his son about to kiss his girlfriend for the very first time from the window. Marinette goes to tell him that she loves him before Kagami arrives and starts attacking. She yells at them a little bit, and then Chad Gorilla comes out of nowhere to try and intervene, only to get put in a shell, as she chases the other two away. And considering how quickly Gorilla got out there to fight, I'd like to think he was lurking by the door just in case Gabe tried to intervene. Gorilla doesn't care about his job anymore. He's gonna throw hands! And of course our heroes run away, only for Kagami to follow, and after a brief sword fight with Adrien, she puts him in a new shell, releasing Gorilla, as apparently she can only have one at a time. After a brief chase, Kagami catches up with Marinette down the street and traps her instead, which allows Adrien to transform into Cat Noir and come to save her. He cataclysms the shell, she runs away, she transforms, lucky charm, gets some olive oil, she greases up Kagami, not sure about that phrasing, she oils up Kagami? No, that's worse. Anyway, long story short, Kagami is covered in olive oil, and she drops the sword. There. It gets smashed, deakumatized, everything's fixed, yada yada, you know how it goes. They convince her that she's been a bit of a smooth brain. She's sad. You know, since they're good people, they just comfort her after this. And then they return to their date, which has been ruined, just like Gabe and Lila wanted. And so yeah, things are looking bleak. But you know, since they're fully together during episode 18 with no hint at any drama, I'm guessing it all gets worked out in episode 17. Either that or they're going to pull a classic Miraculous and just not come back to this storyline until like episode 22 or something like that. But yeah, we finish up with Kagami finally telling Lila how it is, telling her to shut her mouth about Marinette. But of course she doesn't cut her loose as her friend, so there's more drama in that department surely coming. And yeah, that's the end of the episode. And yeah, this was peak silliness for Miraculous. From the class's weird plots, to the pajama date, to winning the battle with a bottle of olive oil. It's just that premium brand of wackiness. But it also had some pretty decent writing all round, particularly with Lila, and the plotting with Gabe and Kagami's mum. Season 5 is continuing to be pretty good, all things considered. And so yeah, that's the end. So with all that being said, these have just been my opinions, and now I'd like to hear yours. What did you think of the episode? You like it, hate it? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and let me know.